We're live, Rick.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody, and Merry Christmas. We're shooting our 87th podcast. However, it's going to be number one on exclusively moving over to YouTube as of today. And we want to give a shout out to YouTube for reaching out to us and asking us to come over there. That was actually really cool.
It's a big deal.
So we must be making some kind of impact in the world that they're reaching out to us, right?
I agree.
I
Anyways,
agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got Jerome here, too.
And just so you know, we got Jerome on the podcast. He's going to be the voice. Oh, he's even on camera there. Look
Look
how
at
good
that.
he looks. Hey? That hair, the vest. I have a vest. I should have worn it. I'll be honest, guys. The only reason I didn't suit up today is because I can't do my hair. It is impossible to do this
COVID
mess.
hair.
COVID hair, and you can't wear a hat with a suit, right? Anyways, guys, before we get started, let's get into today's sponsors, CSP Embroidery, which is my company, suppliers of apparel, headwear, and promotional products for your company or organization. Co-brand with companies like Nike, Oakley, Puma, Ojo, and Under Armour. You can contact me directly, 204-880-6394, or you can email me at rick@cspcandoit.com. So, since it's a Christmas Eve podcast, gentlemen, I thought we would discuss Christmas traditions, family traditions, and then cultural traditions. So, Jerome,
Yeah.
you're a dad, two girls.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of traditions do you have
Well,
at Christmas time?
traditions are pretty much we have a family gathering and stuff like that, right? But we can't do that because of the COVID this year.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is we go ice skating, right?
Mm.
That's the most important thing with us is like go ice skating every year. When it's very cold outside, I get sick.
There'll probably be no ice skating this year.
There's no ice skating.
So
this
what
year for
happened?
sure.
Was that last year?
Yeah. Oh, well, 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
So tell us about what happened when you
2 years
guys went.
ago, we my wife and I and the kids were ice skating. This actually just before New Year or New Year's Day, and she broke her leg. So
Yeah.
again, if you haven't skated for more than 10 years or 12 years,
Yeah.
don't skate.
So is this still a tradition?
It is still a
Or did she
tradition.
move it
She'll-
indoors?
Moving indoors, or
Yeah.
she'll be just watching us and
Oh,
walking
okay.
with us on the ice.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are a very artistic family. You play lots of instruments. Girls are singing, dancing. Do you guys do any kind of Christmas musicals?
We do. Our kids are playing, Christmas melodies and all that stuff, sing along with them, and play the guitar with them. Those kind of things. We love karaoke.
Yeah.
So
And can you do me a
karaoke
favor?
is-
Can you shoot a live stream of you doing it? Because I haven't seen that in a while, and I
Oh
really
yeah,
enjoyed
for
it.
sure, we'll do.
Yeah.
We go live on Facebook once in a while by myself, playing guitar or the piano.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Nice. RJ, you got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
We do.
What kind of traditions have you established? in that time?
Traditions that we
Christmas.
so for me, actually, Christmas has never been a tradition. Christmas was hit or miss, mostly missed growing up. Right? I know we're getting a little deep and dark here, but
all right.
this-
Real
this is
talk.
who I am, real talk, keeping it real. And a lot of Christmases I would actually go to our family parties alone. Growing up, maybe this is why I'm so responsible today. And I'm not trying to throw my parents under the bus here or anything, but I would be the one that would actually buy my cousins presents. So I was 14 and I had 11 or 12-year-old, just slightly younger than me, and I would be buying them presents just so that I felt okay taking presents from my family. So we didn't really have any Christmas traditions growing up. And Neri coming from she was a refugee here, right? And so
I didn't know that.
growing up, their traditions didn't exist because they were just literally trying to stay under the radar and not make waves, right? When you're coming to a new country, you don't really want to. They were very bubbled,
Yeah,
right?
understood.
And so they didn't really have any traditions. They didn't really do much celebrations, that kind of stuff. And so for me now, and with this whole pandemic, it's I want to create traditions. And as cheesy or as commercial as anybody would say, right? Oh, why do you got to give gifts? You know what? It's the one time a year where you actually think about somebody else. How about that?
Okay.
Right? And so for me, I would like to start traditions. So for instance, this morning I managed up how many gifts do the kids have, and we're going to spread them out over the next 3 days, right? Because one of the things that I hated as a kid that gave away presents to my other kid cousins was the fact that they would open up all 6 presents and then just push them aside.
Yep.
Right? And that kind of pissed me off because I'm 14 buying you a gift. You're just a year younger than me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so I like my kids to appreciate the gifts. So
Mhm.
every time they open up a gift, I'm taking a photo, sending it to that person, telling them, hey, thanks for this, and showing the kids' reaction. And the kids won't ever be mass opening up. So you want to talk about tradition, appreciation. So
Mhm.
my kids are going to appreciate every gift that they get. And my tradition is we're going to say thank you to each individual person that took the time to give us a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. What about anything else, like putting up a tree? What kind of meals do you eat? What kind of outdoor activities, indoor activities? Are you doing anything like that?
You
Like,
know
have you
what?
created that where you do the same thing over
I
and over?
grew up in a Ukrainian Christmas type of guy, right?
Mhm.
So I want pierogies, I want beet buns, I want turkey, I want stuffing, I want all of that, right? And if
Yeah.
I don't get that, I think I'm gonna be pretty sad.
Yeah.
Sad and sour. And
Yeah.
I think you'll be okay with my sad, but I don't think you'll be okay with my sour.
Yeah.
So if Neri's watching, please make me a turkey.
Make some pierogies, Neri.
We had the pierogies, but the turkey, I definitely need the turkey. So for the food, that's what I need.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice.
You?
So I grew up in a Ukrainian family, and for years, my entire youth, that's what we did. We went to my grandparents' farm, so it was always a farm Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
All the cousins were there, and all of our cousins were just a few years apart. So it was pretty cool.
Mhm.
We had like all my buddies were there when we showed up. And back in the day, and I'm not going to go too far back. Actually, I am going to go far back, but we used to actually like create our oldest cousin. Our oldest cousin would make us do skits.
Yeah.
We would sing and
Yeah.
do ridiculous stuff. And one of the things that I remember the most, I was 14 years old, and it's the first time that I got my hands on Southern Comfort,
Okay.
the booze. My older auntie bought it for us, and me and my cousin Tamara just got liquored on this thing. And you can see us, we're singing, and we're supposed to be shoulder to shoulder,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to be swaying back and forth in unison. And I'm so hammered, I'm just going, I'm basically being pinballed back and forth in there.
Yeah.
Ended up going upstairs, and I don't know, I think I passed out or something. But that was my first. Not saying that was the tradition, but that was one of the things that we did. We did little skits and stuff. But we also used to do fun stuff like getting pulled behind a toboggan on a snow machine.
Mm.
That was dangerous as hell in today's
yeah.
world. But man, we loved doing that kind of stuff. Tobogganing was always a good time to do. And we used to go to a big hill out in Dauphin. I can't remember. Maybe it was a garbage hill or some kind of a natural hill. Anyways, we go down on tubes.
Yep.
And somebody always got extremely hurt. But it was never a big deal. We never stopped doing it because somebody got hurt, right?
You know what's funny, Rick? You're a pretty hardened individual,
Yeah.
but you don't seem to have a hardened youth.
No.
Like all your stories are like, man, that sounds nice.
Yeah. I had a great grow up.
I was talking to Neri the other day, and I was like, you know what, Rick? I don't know if he's had hard times like growing up,
Yeah.
right? Like I grew up and went to the hood, and Jerome was in the Philippines, and he's got his crazy stories from
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yours is pulling people behind snowmobiles and
Straight up, guys. My 45-year-old exterior might make you think one thing, but my
Yeah.
childhood was great. The only
Yeah.
thing, like I always say, I grew up without an actual father because he
Mhm.
died as an alcoholic at 4 years old. But I had a rock star mother, man.
Yeah.
Rock star. Like
Yeah.
she put me in everything. I was in every sport. I was pretty good at school.
Mhm.
She always made sure that I was introduced to good male role models. I had a
Mhm.
big brother. I had Jim, which was my stepdad for 25 years.
Mhm.
My grandpa was a big supporter in my life. So yeah, I think the only way I went degenerate was about 30 when I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
moved to the
exactly.
North End and started doing drugs. That's when it went. That's
You have
the
to go
tough
and
part of my life.
experience it. You have
I
to go
did.
and live there for 20 years.
And it's funny you bring it up because I feel like that is exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
I lived such a healthy, good family life up
Mhm.
until I was about 30. And then I remember just thinking, I want to get bad shit crazy. Like I didn't even take Tylenol for a hangover back in the
Yeah.
day, Now, man, at that point, anything went at that point.
Yeah.
So, anyways, those are the traditions that I had as a kid. And nowadays, we don't have kids. So my traditions, as far as with Jen, is very simple. We like to have one really good meal. I really like seafood, so I always like to have a big seafood feast. But this year, I'm actually doing it with a friend of mine instead. So we're going to not do it, and plus, we just can't really get the food right now. So the tradition, which has been for the last 4 years, has been to run a fitness class here. I've been the Christmas coach. I think maybe I missed it last year, but we're going to be doing it again this year.
Yeah.
So if you're part of the Fit Club crew, watch out for it. It's going to be a 1 hour set, and what about 5 of us doing it at once?
Well, yeah, Neri's going to be here, but there's going to be 4 coaches.
4 coaches.
5 different routines.
There you go. Awesome.
So just so everybody knows, this is an interactive podcast. So if you are tuning in, maybe we don't have as many viewers right now, but
yet.
soon to be. I'm monitoring what's going on here. So if you are tuning in right now, say hello. This is a brand new era. We're saying goodbye to 2020, saying hello to 2021 on YouTube, baby.
On YouTube. So no more on Facebook.
No, this podcast is keeping it real on YouTube. So it could have a little bit of a different tone. We got some guests lined up.
Sure.
And
Let's talk about next week's, just so people know.
okay, yeah.
So next week we're going to have a gentleman on here. He's been a buddy of mine and a former member. He is a business owner, family business in the sewer and water business. He's what I would call a roughneck. He comes from a crazy past. So we're going to be talking about everything from partying, drug use, depression. Depression runs through his family, how he deals with it. In fact, that was one of the things that inspired me to get him onto the podcast. And the biker lifestyle. So he's a supporter of the Hells Angels, and he's a proud supporter. Puts it out there onto social media. So he's not a member of the bike club, but he knows some of them, I guess. And we're going to talk about that and get some good stories from him. So moving forward, just to corroborate what you're saying, we're trying to get some really interesting guests to talk about really interesting things in their life, uncensored, no vanilla topic.
Yeah, and if they get vanilla, what do we tell them?
Keeping it real.
Let's keep it real.
Let's keep it real, guys. Let's keep it real.
All right, let's get on to some of your hot topics here, Ricky.
Yeah, no problem. So one of the things about 2020, obviously, I think it's pretty well known that we've pretty much had enough of this year.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to getting out of it. However, or what we want to do is make sure that when we do leave 2020, that we're leaving some things behind. And what I've done is I've created a list of stuff that we're going to go over. Jerome, get ready because you're going to participate in this.
All
and
right.
There's, 10 different topics. And the first topic, or the first thing that I want to discuss, what we're going to leave behind in 2020 is the lack of inspiration. And let's just add motivation to that. So I feel like we've a lot of people have kind of just given up. We've been beaten down. We've been told that to stay indoors, and we can't live the life that we're used to anymore. And I feel like we have now transformed over into listening to that and sort of being inspired and motivated. So RJ, I'll ask you first. How do you find, or when we leave the lack of inspiration, motivation in 2020, how do we re-find it?
For me, and I think we all experience this, right? To say that you and I, or I speak for myself, are the most motivated people, there's days I get up and I don't want to do it. There's times where I just say, what's it worth?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does it all mean in the end, right? And I've said those words. But for me, it's about setting goals, man. Like, you have to have a target. There's always got to be a target in life that you're achieving for, even if it's something small.
Yeah, like what? Give us an example.
So in business, right? Like, what would be a business goal that you would like to achieve? And so today I actually did this thing where it's like, what worked well and what didn't work well. And I wrote down like 10 things, and then I broke it down to what are the 3 most things that I want to do more of, right? And so from this time around, what I found was we had more connection, more client connection, right? So prior to COVID, I feel like there was a disconnection between the coaches and the clients. And then right now, I feel like there's a bigger connection between the coaches and the clients and the clients to Fit Club. And so for me, it's how do you foster and how do you maintain those relationships while keeping it real?
So the inspiration would come from connection.
The inspiration would, so how can we connect more with our members? It's easy to connect when you're in person, right? Like, man, I'm looking forward to our events. Like, we had an event 2 years ago, and we had like performers in here. We had karaoke. We had vendors. Like, dude, I want another one of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I want to create opportunities where we're doing things like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Jerome, how are you going to leave the lack of motivation and inspiration behind in 2020?
Well, for me, with this going on, I'm more motivated because my schedule has changed. My responsibility has become more, right? So lack of inspiration for me for the 2020 is I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I can't say badly enough of lack of inspiration. Because I have you guys, I have coaches and everything, making me making me better, right? Making me like get advanced more, to move forward. So I think I'm gonna say I'm gonna keep going and polishing this new education that I
Nice.
I
earned.
like that
Nice.
consistency.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going to consistently do. He's already at the top of the game.
Yeah. Yep.
And yet this guy's always like, look at this YouTube thing. Like, boom, that's set up, no problem.
I
Like, we
know.
just said, hey, Jerome, we want to do this. You and I didn't even put any thought into it about the back end stuff. And this guy's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
When you're working out, like nobody sees this guy, but he's there. All right, how many more? Right? And he's cheering us on,
Yeah.
and he's giving coaching cues.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, and
He's telling us what, and then he's dancing.
And gets us pumped up.
Yeah, he gets us.
We,
pumped
we
up.
should you should have a YouTube channel just of you
Yeah.
filming us.
Yeah,
'Cause
oh,
it's
yeah.
hilarious.
Somebody's got to follow him around. Yeah,
No, for sure.
There you go.
I think the way I'm going to leave motivation or inspiration behind is, and I've talked about this before. I think moving forward, what you have to do is let's just say that we'll talk about fitness just because we talk about it. If you're looking for the motivation to be fit, you have to find it externally in the meantime. And one of the greatest tools that we have in the world now is YouTube.
Mm.
And this is how I did it, and this is how I tell everybody to do it, is at first you got to go on YouTube or go onto a podcast or go onto a radio station or whatever and find something that gets you a little bit jazzed up.
Mm-hmm.
Start following people that you want to look like or be like or the message that they're putting out there.
Mhm.
And listen to them consistently, meaning that you have to put them in your ear more than the other stuff like the news or reality TV or whatever. You got to make that shift.
Mhm.
What's going to happen is eventually you're going to start making the better decisions because you're listening to better messages, and then all of a sudden your internal motivation and inspiration will kick in. And that's just kind of how nature takes its course. So to wrap up mine, find it externally and then crush it internally.
Yeah.
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 So Jerome, you made a good point about your schedule, and that's actually one of the points that we're going to talk about. Is over scheduling.
Mm.
And so since we already got Jerome's take on it, RJ, I know pre-COVID, this is one of the things that you did a lot of,
Mhm.
like time stamping,
Mhm.
stuff like this, over scheduling. You think that's going to change for you?
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, the second lockdown, and I just look at it as a positive, right? Like
Mhm.
people are like, oh, how do you stay positive? I have no other option to. You know what I mean? What are my other options? I've seen what happens when people go on negative spirals.
I know.
And they continue to blame others, they point fingers, they get sad on themselves. Like I've seen it, man. And I'm just like, when I see it firsthand, I know where that goes. And honestly, you know where it lands you? Right here. You just don't move.
Yeah.
Like you're stuck still. So for me to be positive, I have to be, because I have no other option. I've seen the other side. I don't want to do it. And so when it comes to overscheduling, and I had a conversation with the girl the other day, and she was talking about depression and she like, why do I even do all this and all this and that? And I said, well, you just need to do more of what you love. Whether that means you got to take a pay cut, whether that means that you got to change your lifestyle, meaning like maybe you don't stay at 5-star resorts. Maybe you go down to a 3. Maybe you don't travel every 2 months. You know what I mean? Or maybe you stop buying a brand new bag every month, right? Whatever it takes to adjust to your new lifestyle, so you're not overscheduling. I'll overschedule and then I'll begin to hate things.
Mhm.
Right? And
Exactly.
I don't want to get to a point where I hate things. I want
Totally.
to do more
Yeah.
of what I love.
Yeah.
So how do I prevent overscheduling?
Yeah.
I say, do I love this? Is this something that I need to do? And if not, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, there you go. So you
Yeah.
got to learn to say no to things,
You
right?
got to learn to say no, and
Yeah.
that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I think pre-COVID we had this. We are all experiencing FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes, that's huge.
Everybody wanted to do everything,
Mhm.
right? And social media is like, oh, you got to try this. Like, even
Yeah.
if you wanted to go micro here and just talk about Winnipeg,
Yeah.
if you're following a few Winnipeg social media sites, like I remember, I wanted to be downtown for all these downtown events, but then I wanted to be out in the Birds Hill Park because there's really cool trails,
Yeah.
and then of course there's always things happening in your regular life, and before you know it, you're just like you want to do everything, and then you're annoyed because you have to do everything.
Yeah, and then
You
you don't
know?
do anything.
And then you don't do anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, moving forward, I do feel like COVID taught us a lot of things, and maybe people will start to appreciate just the simple things and not necessarily overscheduling, but just appreciating what you have.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, I was thinking about that the other day because I drove by this high school and there's literally 100 cars there.
Yeah.
They obviously weren't out of their cars, but they had their cars decorated. They had this and that. And I'm like, man, I forgot about people that like have crazy holiday Christmas traditions. The parade isn't happening this year. Meet Santa or whatever. Like all these things, like the river trail, like Jerome,
Yeah.
like those things aren't going to happen this year.
Yeah.
And so for me, like I want to do more of that stuff
Mhm.
because I'm the opposite, right? It's like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I want to do things.
I want to
that,
get excited for those things,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. I want to do Jerome. Um, I want to do things where I'm not don't feel guilty. So
Yeah.
here's the thing: you guys have kids. I don't have kids,
Mhm.
and let's talk about overscheduling with kids. Jerome, I know your kids take dance classes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
ever find yourself getting overwhelmed that one kid has dance classes and then singing classes and then schooling and then et cetera, et cetera? Like, do you
Or
ever?
well, we started. We know where we're getting into when we had kids. So
Mhm.
my wife and I are like we want to provide to them, right?
Of course.
And so they have dance classes, they have music lessons and all that stuff, piano lessons.
Mhm.
And the scheduling part was hard at first because we have our own specific jobs, right, that we have to do, but we manage, right? We I'm lucky that I have my grandparents here in Winnipeg with us, right? So they could drive them to where they need to go.
Mhm.
And so that's how we did it. Like we manage, right?
Yeah.
The money is there. It's really hard to piano lessons, swimming lessons, and all that
I can
stuff, right?
imagine.
So I mean, and also the dance lessons. So it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, well, I guess your Rugrats are getting old enough where they got things to do, eh?
Yeah.
Starting to find that to be a challenge.
No, there's nothing. They don't have anything, man.
No, not
Like
yet.
I want to get the. I feel for any parents right now that with
Yeah.
no sports and like I couldn't imagine if I was 13, 14, I didn't have sports, man. I don't know. I love sports, and if my kids were serious about it, I would have a really hard time right now. But at the same time, if it was important
Yeah.
to me, I would find a way.
So
Like, I would
overscheduling.
convert my whole garage into a basketball court.
Yeah.
Legit, I was thinking about doing that.
So overscheduling for your kids isn't really an issue.
No,
It's overscheduling for yourself.
for
that-
myself.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's talk about guilt.
Okay.
To your point, right? Your kids are stuck at home. They can't play sports. You, as a parent, are forced to become a school teacher,
Okay.
a coach. Now you're the hockey coach, or maybe you're the dance teacher, or
Yeah.
who the hell knows whatever your parents had to pivot to in order to keep their children entertained.
Mhm.
One of the things that we need to leave behind in 2020 is guilt.
Mm,
And I think what everybody has to do is realize that everybody did the best they could.
mhm.
Have that mentality that we had no idea what we're getting into. Nobody, I would say, that is alive now ever experienced something like this. Maybe before, but not to this scale. Not a
Yeah.
world shutdown.
No.
Can you think of anything in history where the world shut down? Like even in 50 or 100 years? I don't
yeah,
know.
like the 1910s or they had the Roaring Twenties,
Okay.
something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
Maybe something, but certainly
Something.
not to this scale.
Yeah.
So everybody who's alive today
Mhm.
has experienced something that nobody else has ever experienced
Yeah.
previous to this, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like even from myself, even though I feel like I've done really well, I feel like I'm actually killing it during COVID. I still feel guilty about not doing enough.
Enough.
Because at the end of the day, I'm really looking for things to do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I could do more. I could probably do more with the podcast. I could do more with my fitness. I could do more working, I guess, generally speaking. I don't know. I'm not even sure. But that's one thing that I want to do moving forward is completely leave that behind. Jerome,
Yeah.
you're a busy guy. You're probably one of the busiest guys I know. Are you going to leave guilt behind, or what do you feel guilty about, and how are you going to leave it in 2020?
Well, guilty of what? You know
I
what?
know.
I'm not guilty of any little thing that I've done.
So do you feel like you've been the best dad during COVID, that the girls haven't suffered in any way, that they were homeschooled properly, they had everything that they wanted, that
they,
you
they do like my guilt will be me so busy with what I'm doing, right? And no time for them.
Mhm.
And that's what they're looking for. Hey daddy, let's go this, let's do that and stuff like that. I
Mm.
make time. If my day off, right, I would bring them to travel in the city around town, right? And we do that, but it's mostly my time with them. It's what they're looking for, more time with them.
Okay.
Right.
How about yourself?
I would ask Jerome about does he feel guilty about his health?
Well, I feel guilty about my health. I need to work out more with you guys for sure. And
Imagine if you took the efforts that you put into your business life
yeah,
and you're a great friend
Mhm.
and your family life, right?
True.
If you took that, because your finances are good, your faith is strong, your family is there, but what about your fitness?
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? I don't know if
I could tell you
Gil?
guys this. I'm about 210 pounds right now.
Yeah.
If I lose about 30 pounds,
Mhm.
Mhm.
then it's different, Jerome. And this
yeah.
coach is, I've been here with you guys for about what 3 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And I promise you guys, my health is number one too in
Oh,
my
Good.
life,
we're
right?
perking up, Jerome.
There we
There you
go.
go.
We
Yeah.
got this on camera.
Yeah, that's my guilt
Yeah.
right there.
There you go.
I have
Good.
like how many coaches here? Like
Yeah.
8,
Yeah.
Hmm.
12 sometimes, right?
Well,
All of you guys,
I can-
like I have to follow you,
Yeah.
what it is, right?
I can tell you this from being a dad and a husband standpoint, I think you're awesome at it because not only do you do a lot of stuff with your kids, but you document it in really cool videos
Yeah.
and post it for us to see. So we know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think RJ's point, we're just trying to make sure that you stay around forever and ever because we really love you, Jerome.
Thank you. I love you guys.
That's
too.
right.
Yeah,
But that is another thing that we can get rid of is lack of discipline, Jerome. So since we're on it, let's just keep you on the hot seat. How are we going to make sure that you leave your lack of discipline for fitness only in 2020? How are you going to take yourself into 2021 and make sure that you lose those 30 pounds?
well, 2021 would be more like, again, like you said, discipline. Listen to you guys, and just keep, providing more time, for a little bit more time for myself.
Yeah.
And with you guys,
What
right?
RJ, what are you going to do about more discipline? You're a pretty disciplined guy. How are you going to add to it? Because you know you're only going to do more, not less.
So yeah, that's the thing is that I need to take more time to give myself less. Meaning, I was working out so much. Go back to 2 weeks ago, dude. I was beat. Right, I was doing the mornings. Plus, we had the extra one. Plus, I was doing the evening. Right. When it comes to work, I'll study YouTube, and I'll get to a point where I'll crush it, and I get so narrow focused. Right, and people would like. You talk to any of these gurus and they're like, narrow your focus. It's like, I could narrow my focus, but at the same time, I get so driven that I get so tunnel visioned that I forget about everything else that's happening in my life. And so for me, it's not a matter of doing more. It's a matter of giving myself the opportunity to do less. I can go without one extra workout. I know what I need to do. If I want to look ripped, I need to eat a little bit better. So do that. If I have a task, if it doesn't get done today, it can wait till tomorrow. Like I can easily put a 24-hour day in, no problem.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? People say, "Oh, you're super disciplined," but I'm super undisciplined at taking time off.
Yeah.
And so where do I lack that? I would say in that portion of just letting it be.
Fair enough. To your point about working out and being ripped.
Okay.
Let's talk about the next topic of leaving in behind, and that is your added weight.
Mm.
Let's have some real talk about losing weight.
Okay.
All right. And Jerome, I guess we're going to include you on this one, but since you just threw it out there that you want to drop 30 pounds. I think what people have to start really, really doing is understanding that your weight is reducing your life.
Yeah.
Simple as that. The added weight that you carry is making you unattractive,
Mm.
and the added weight that you are carrying is giving you a shitty quality of life now and is
Mhm.
going to give you an even shittier quality of life when you get old.
Mhm.
And if you're the type of person who wants to be a burden on your adult children, then you're on the right track.
Yeah.
But if you want to actually thrive and be awesome, and you know what, guys, here's another thing that, and one of the things that I've started to learn is how technology has taken over the world. There are going to be so many tools given to us that is going to help us live longer.
Mhm.
All we have to do is remain somewhat healthy.
Mhm.
There will become a point where knee surgery, hip surgery, replacement won't be like it is now, where it takes you a year. You have to be
Yeah.
old, and it takes you years to get on the list.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to have a 3D printed joint
Mhm.
printed somewhere and literally installed like a robot.
Yeah.
It's going to happen quicker. There is a lot of companies right now that are doing genome research, which means that they're figuring out ways, and I'm not going to get into the scientific, but they're figuring out scientific ways to cure cancer by simply reconstructing your wiring.
Mm.
What I talked about on the previous podcast is something called Neuralink, where this is a computer, we'll call it, that is literally going to be installed into the back of your neck, and it is going to be attached to your brain neurons,
Yeah.
and it is going to help you with things like dementia, or if you are paralyzed, it can help fix your body so that you can walk again. But anyways, what I'm getting at, and RJ, give me what you think about this, is I feel like we've become. We know that we have an obesity problem.
Mhm.
We know that too many people are overweight. How do we shift people's mindset to realize that this has to be your number one priority?
It comes down to everything that we've done here is what do you have guilt, right? Like I'm sure somebody has deep down guilt, and guilt isn't. I don't think that you should get rid of guilt. I think guilt can be used either to bring you down, but it can also be used to bring you up. Right? There's a lot of times where I'll be sitting on the couch and I'm watching my Netflix thing, and my kids are jumping on me. They're around me, and I have two options. Number one, I can use that guilt and think about, all right, these kids are annoying me. Get the hell off me. This is my time. Or number two, I use that guilt to say, you know what? Step it up, RJ. Be a dad. They obviously want your attention, and so I think that people can use guilt in a positive way. Number two is that they would want to get disciplined, right? Like you just gotta want it, and it's like sleeping in. Okay, nobody sleeps in. You like to sleep until 8, whatever, but I guarantee you, at some point in time, you were up before 8, before you actually crawled out of bed. And I think that the majority of people choose to sleep in. Sleeping in, you are already awake. It's a matter of you getting up and getting going. And
Yeah.
so when you have that discipline just to say no exceptions, no excuses, no regrets, and just do it, then I think that that's going to be a spiral effect. Because when you're like, oh, you know what, I had a good week, and you know what, I'm just gonna treat myself to a full day. You know what I mean? Like I think when you give yourself too many exceptions, that's when it starts to spiral.
Yeah, for sure. Jerome, you want to chime in on this one, just as far as the weight is concerned, since, like you said, since we got you on the hot seat?
Well, RJ is correct there. Like I mean, he mentioned about the spiral, the habits. Like I mean, that's you should you should get that habit, not to what do you call this? I lost
Like
my
a
train of
habit of
thought.
a negative,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like you can
like
either have a good habit or
or
you
a
can have a
negative.
bad habit,
Correct.
but it's still a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like I mean, for me, I want it to be more like a positive way of saying, Jerome, I like you to work out with us, but not negative stuff.
Mm,
Like for me to to be, oh, I'm down. Oh, these guys are like so negative, and I don't want to work out.
Yeah.
Stuff
mhm.
stuff like that. Or my wife will tell me negative stuff, and I don't like it. Right?
Right.
What I mean? It has to be more positive way and saying it nicely and the different words. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So to get me motivated.
Do you think negative coaching works? Like, Rick, you're a fatty. Get moving. Oh, you know what I mean? Why like that? Why are you moving so slow?
Yeah.
Like, do you like that kind of coaching?
You know
or-
what, Jerome, to your point about keeping it positive, I get it.
Yeah.
To your point about keeping it negative, I feel, if you want to replace the word negative with reality, a
Mhm.
reality check,
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes people need to hear that.
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes you need to hurt people's feelings in order for them to finally open their eyes and say, like, holy shit, maybe I am on the wrong path.
Mhm.
And that's how I work. I
Yeah.
mean, I know I'm different from a lot of people, and I like to hear tough words once in a while. I don't like to hear tough words.
Yeah.
But it's tough words and tough things that have changed me in life. And I guess going back to this whole added, leaving the weight behind. Yes, we can sit here as coaches and say, you should do this and get disciplined, and let's do it in a positive way. Or maybe what everybody needs to realize is that you're gonna fucking die if you stay fat.
Yeah.
Like this is really the only thing that matters is the health of your body.
Mhm.
Because you can make all the money you want, you can have
Mhm.
all the kids that you want, you can travel to all the places that you want. But if you're taking medication for diabetes, if you're in a wheelchair, if you have gout and you can't walk anymore, if you're constantly bloated and you can't fit your clothes anymore, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like the number one priority has to be the weight. And I feel like, we've had a year off, kind
Yeah.
of ish, right? Everybody, can't go to the gyms. You're limited to what you can do. I think this is one of those years where everybody really needs to just take a hard line and say enough is enough, and you got to start trimming down the pounds.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Well, and the people that are really scared about getting COVID are the people that generally aren't very fit.
There
right?
you go.
I don't know. Quote me on that or misquote me, whatever. But I feel like the people that are really, really scared. For me, I'm not afraid of it. Like
Yep.
I know it exists. I'm not stupid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm not afraid of getting sick.
Yeah.
I've been sick before. And from the people that I've talked to, like the biggest thing is the fear of the unknown. And now that more people have had it, every person that I've spoken to, like I know a coach out in Arizona, and we were having a Zoom chat, and I said, he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I tested positive for COVID. It's been 2 or 3 days. And I said, well, you look fine. He's like, yeah, I feel fine. I just kind of got this little bit of headache thing. And he's like, if I wouldn't have gotten tested positive for it, I wouldn't have known I had it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like, let me expand on that one.
Sure.
I had twice did a what I call it,
COVID test.
COVID test,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all negative. You know why I do that? Because I feel something. So I feel something in my head, or I feel like sick and stuff like that, and I get nervous, right? So I get to the doctors and ask them to swab me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not getting all those things, like if I'm healthy, like you said,
Mhm.
um, I won't have that, like the fear, I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, of getting tested.
Exactly.
There-
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would almost think like if I was the old Rick, where I was, toxic and overweight and on drugs, I would not want to be. And I guess I look at it this way, and this is something that my mother has instilled in me: is I don't want to be that strain on society.
Mm.
I don't want to be another person in a goddamn waiting room waiting to get tested.
Yeah.
Because
1,000 car
I've
lineup.
chosen to make shitty choices in my life.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to be the reason why my friends can't go to certain places because I can't walk up 3 flights of stairs. Like
Yeah.
I really feel like people should look at him that way. Like, why do you want to be the person? Why do you want to have a compromised immune system? Why do we need to worry about you because you've chosen to eat bad food and you want to do nothing about it? Like,
Mhm.
I really think that you have to look at it that way and say, how can you be better to this planet and to the people around you, as opposed to being
Mm.
a strain on the people around you? That's
Mhm.
that's the way I look at it, and that's sort of when you say negative motivation or
Mhm.
positive motivation, that might come across as negative, I
Mhm.
guess,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But yet it's sort of like what I think people really need to hear.
Mhm.
You know?
I like it, and the difference I've seen really negative talk.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I know what negative talk is, and it's like I said, the spiral, right? This person's doing this, and that person's that, and this person, and then I ask a simple question. Well, why do you think they did that? I don't know, but they're just this, that, and this. I'm like, okay, so you're assuming something,
Yeah.
and you're just putting a negative spiral on that. Versus like what you're trying to say is coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you're saying, and people will get shocked at the word fat, right? You don't want to say fat, right? Because it's a harsh remark, but
Mhm.
the difference is you're saying it because you don't want people to live a bad life. That's when it comes down to it, you're basically saying I don't want you to live a bad life.
Correct.
But there's also people that just we didn't need to say that. There's that negative guy on the team where he feels like he's the only guy that's putting in the effort. Meanwhile, you're busting your ass and he says something stupid and you're like,
Yeah.
dude, did you really have to say that? Like,
Yeah.
is that coming from a good place or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this: when I was overweight, I can't remember who it was, and it was like I think it was one of Jen's coworkers or something like that.
Mhm.
Canadians, that's where she worked at the time, and I walked in, and he's like, "Oh, you gained a few pounds,"
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Holy shit!" I should probably be offended by that. And
Yeah.
and he didn't be. It wasn't like, "Hey, buddy, you
Yeah,
gained a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
of lbs." He looked at me and with disgust
Yeah.
because he hadn't seen me in a while. He's like, "Oh, you gained a few pounds."
Yeah.
And it was the most powerful thing somebody ever said to me. It was
Yeah.
rude and it was negative, I
Yeah.
guess, if you look back.
Mhm.
But it was one of the reasons why I got my shit
Yeah,
together.
and it comes down to the listener too, right? Like whatever we say, if
Exactly.
there's 9 out of 10, I'll probably put my foot in my mouth. But it's up to the listener to how you conceive that.
Yeah.
Right? And so that would be the next thing is I would tell you, like, say it from a good place. If you don't, that's fine. It's up to the reader or the listener to absorb what you're saying, and then whatever they do after that is up to them.
You got it. So leave being offended behind too,
Yeah.
because most
That's
of the
huge.
most of the things
Huge.
that you're offended by aren't
Yeah.
bad intentions
Yeah.
towards you. It's just something you don't want to hear. So the first reaction is to be offended by it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost done here, guys. We're gonna wrap it up soon, but I want to talk about toxic
Mm.
friends and family. I feel like this has been a great time to figure out who the toxic people in your life.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily face to face, but certainly social media. I
Mhm.
have seen some ugly back and forth in the comment section,
Mm.
and I know I have myself eliminated certain friends and family out of my life 100%,
Mhm.
and I have no problem saying that on camera. Just based on the things that they've said to me or how they, I guess, maybe threw me under the bus, and some of the things that they didn't say.
Mhm.
You can always tell, especially on social media, the things when people aren't saying stuff, there's something going on.
Yeah.
Jerome,
Yeah.
your opinion on toxic friends and family. I feel like you have a great family. I'm not sure who your friendships are other than us. I don't know if I've ever met any of your other friends.
Yeah, I have tons of friends out there. They come
Yeah.
and go, right?
But what's your opinion on this?
My opinion is like, I mean, usually, yeah, if they're toxic, man, you don't want to be around them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I mean, they what was that crab mentality? They
Oh,
put you,
crabs in the bucket.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
they
know what I
pull you
mean? So
down.
they pull you down.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to let go, man. Move forward. It's your life. Pick better friends out there that will challenge you.
Mhm.
Support you in what you're trying to do in your life,
Yeah.
right? and just stick with that. Stick with those things.
For sure.
Yeah.
RJ, what level, where's the fine line between, and it doesn't matter, let's just say it's immediate family
Hmm.
or your best friend of 20 years.
Hmm.
Is there a line where you say you're done?
The line happens when you can't take it anymore. And I have extreme patience, right? There's times where I'll just say, you know what, I'm done with this person, and then I just kind of get over it, man. I water under the bridge. Somebody could have said something to me or did something to me, and honestly, man, I the biggest thing that's helped me through my personal life is just letting it go, right? I've been dumped on so many times. People have been super toxic around me. I've spoken to people that were so toxic that we sat there for 10 minutes. I didn't say a word, right? Where they're just rambling off their negativity to me. And I just sit there and I absorb it. And I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. And I see it as a challenge, right? It's a challenge for me to be resilient. If you go rewind back, let's go back 3-4 years ago. Like I had no problem axing a coach. You know what I mean? And I had no problem getting rid of people. Now I'm just like, you know what? I got to accept them for their faults and I got to accept them for their goods and bads, right? And because otherwise, they're always gonna drive me nuts. And before I would say this past year, there would be it's perfectionism, right? And that's one of the things that got me to where I'm at is that everything had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And if you weren't a part of that perfect plan, then you became a perfect problem. And so now I'm a little bit more accepting. I'm a little bit more forgiving. And so for to get rid of toxic friends and family, I think it just depends on you, right? And what are you willing to take? And you have to look at it as is this person, is this person somebody that I can live without, or is this a person that I want to live with?
Yeah.
And so when you have that mindset that's just the way that I work. That actually that can get sleep.
Okay.
There you
That's
go.
how it works. for me.
Understood.
Yeah.
So that would be the difference between you and I is you have patience, and I've seen it over the years. I've seen you be very patient. I've seen you being very short too. This is early on in our friendship, but you're one of the types of people who evolve rapidly over time, and I've seen you establish some extreme patience.
It's not for everybody.
No.
Because
No, and
you
I'm
take
not-
a lot of beating, man, a lot of
Yeah,
jabs.
and I'll be honest, this is how you and I are different. Is when it comes down to the coaching, the way you are is you live by example, right? So people have to see what you do, and then they have to understand it and process it, and then adopt it into their life. Whereas I'm like, why the fuck did you just do that? This is the right way to do it, not and that takes 3 seconds as opposed to 3
Yeah.
months or 3 years,
Yeah.
right? So that's just a little bit different, but whether one's right or one is wrong, that's sort
See,
of
and rewind. I would have been, Rick, this is how you have to do it. This is
Yeah.
the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And now that's just Rick. He'll grow or he'll stay the same or whatever. It's not up to me to try and change Rick.
Yeah.
If Rick doesn't want to do it my way, then let's see what he's doing his way, and let's like look at the workouts. I'm not controlling the workouts. Whereas the perfectionist in me 2 years ago would have been, I wrote every workout.
Yeah.
And I would have led every class because nobody can do it as good as me. Now I'm at a point where I like that. Hey, you know what? Here, Rick, let me give you a little bit of tips here. This is what I liked about it. This is maybe how I could have changed it a little bit just so that it aligns with what we do here at Fit Club. But ultimately, if Hugo wants to do 45-second rounds, 3 exercises
Yeah.
for an hour, then, as long as it's not too far off of what we're doing, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. All right, so RJ's accepting. He's not necessarily cutting anybody out.
No.
But yeah, there's still always a leadership on that one, though. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
there's all, and I always,
course.
there's 100%. Yes.
Great segue because our final comment is incompetent leadership, and that can stem anywhere from let's say your boss at work, or maybe the head of your household, or perhaps what else? Give me another example of what leadership would be.
Boss, household, and
Could even be who you follow on social media,
Yeah.
whoever you look at as a coach or a leader, as a leader. And the one thing that I'm glad I've never had to deal with in my recent life is incompetent leadership, and that's a shout out to you, RJ. You've been
thank you.
a stand-up dude, and you've showed me the way. Jerome, you as well. I've
Thank
learned
you.
so much from you guys in the last little while.
we have a crazy strong team.
We do.
Like everybody is just they're a leader in their own, and you can tell who's new to the team.
Yeah.
Because they bring in some of their stuff, and then we're just like, the other day I was having a chat with the guy, and he's just right away digging into people. Oh, I didn't like that workout and this and that. And finally, after 2 or 3 of those, I just said, hey, listen, dude, everything you've been saying has been completely negative. I
Mhm.
said, first of all, you're not perfect.
Mhm.
Second of all, it's just like, look for something good
Yeah.
because this is just spiraling, dude. I said, you're just spiraling. This is not getting any better.
Yeah.
And you need, like you said, the hard line, right?
Yeah.
Keeping it real. And sometimes people just need to be told how it is, and it's up to that guy. And after I had that conversation, I thought, oh God, this guy's, I don't know, man. He's gonna quit. He's, is he gonna go home and cry? Like, I don't know, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
always scared I'm too hard on people. And honestly, I said it with love. It came from a good place, so I felt good about it.
Yeah.
And then he just stepped it up, man. Like, honestly, I seen him. He stepped it up.
You
So,
know, that was the right message to the right person.
yeah.
Right? It could have been the wrong person and it went sideways, but thank God that person is coachable,
Yeah.
so they can take a message.
Yeah.
Jerome,
Yeah.
incompetent leadership. How are you a leader, and who do you? Sorry, let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
Moving out of 2020. All right, it's tough for me to ask you guys because we have great leadership here.
Correct.
So the person sitting at home that is directionless, they're following nobody, they don't have anybody to look up to.
Mm.
How are they finding it in 2021, Jerome?
Well, I mean, 2021 or 2020. Well, my wife is always the boss or the leader.
Hey, there you go. Acceptance.
Acceptance, right. All right. So
Don't say that to Rick though.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been a leader on what I do in my life, as far as work or
Yeah.
previous works and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And also on my business side, right? I have a great team. We're all leaders on what I do. I do wedding videos and stuff like that. So I have a
Mhm.
great team over there on that side. And here, like you guys, you guys are. You're letting me do what's best for the business, right?
Mhm.
And you follow along, and we go from there. We do it 1%.
1% better every
Better
day,
every
baby.
day.
You got
Boom,
it, baby.
boom,
Let's
trademark.
go. There
All right,
you
guys,
go.
we're going to wrap up the podcast there. Thanks,
E-
everybody.
Every Thursday
Every Thursday, 11 a.m.
here.
here on YouTube.
YouTube.
Subscribe to the channel, Fit Club Media. We're out of here. Keeping it real with Rick and RJ. That's how we're moving forward. See you next Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.